Hello and welcome. I'm Maria Ressa. This is Rappler Talk, part of our continuing series on technology and development. Joining us today is an old friend, Alberto. He is the EVP of PLDT and Smart. He's also the president and CEO of ePLDT, the digital arm of the PLDT Group. Eric, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you for having me.
Well, we've had so many talks about this. Let's tell everybody about how you look at technology. I mean, there's this fast pace of change. I mean, PLDT, for example, a decade ago, landlines were 90% of the revenue of a telco company. And now that's basically gone away, and there are a whole lot of other things that have come on. How do you stay ahead of it? How do you evolve?
The easy answer is with much difficulty. But the longer answer is really it's the telecommunications companies, not only PLDT, but carriers all over the world, are experiencing massive transformation. And this is brought about by disruption in the technology space, where if you've seen followed technology developments in the last 10 to 12 years,
right.
You've seen the emergence of a lot of new ventures, a lot of breakout companies, a lot of startups that have actually been innovative and actually had filled out and catered to growing, evolving needs of the market, both enterprise and consumers, a vacuum that was not filled by legacy technology players, and I'm saying players that have been there even the last 20 years. This is what you call I would like to call it the Silicon Valley syndrome, right? And every year, thousands upon thousands of new venture capitalists and innovative minds coming out of this hotbed of ideation and innovation actually are bent. Inspired further by successes of recent past, of how they fill up spaces. When you speak of digital, we try to demystify that, Maria, by trying to define what really is digital. And we've, me and my colleagues, our colleagues and I actually have come to agree that digital is no mystery than solving real day-to-day problems, right? And if you look at over-the-top players, that
Yes.
they have been successful in just doing so. And I can give you a number of concrete examples without going into details. Uber disrupted the transport taxi business. Airbnb, the travel and tourism hotel and inns business. And I could rattle on and on and on. And all of these over-the-top players, particularly in respect to how it affects the telcos, would actually relegate us to just be as the proverbial dump pipe. And
Right.
That is a space that we actually dread not to be in over our strategic future, because you actually lose relevancy and you get commoditized for simply the connectivity pipes. The hardware, the network that we are in, and we don't participate in that robust ecosystem that actually is evolving true to the digital definition, evolving in the form where it dynamically changes to the times in addressing changing demands also of consumer and enterprise habits, of the way people consume, of the way people live, basically.
So right now, actually, if we think about them as separate businesses, the largest investment comes from the telcos, the dumb pipes that you call, right? That requires tremendous investment and continues to require investment for connectivity. How are you able to then get into this higher value added? I mean, you guys used to call it VAS, but now it's a whole other ecosystem with these.
I think by forces of necessity, Maria. Well, before it used to be just an ancillary VAS, as a value add to increase your ARPU. It has become today a necessity for survival. Let me, if you'll allow me to delve a little bit more on the details of how the relationship of our revenues vis-a-vis our capex and the interplay of that and the dynamics of that. The best way I could say that is the way we use technology from the carrier's point of view. Once upon a time, you used to text a lot, and I would imagine that you still text, but to a certain age demographics as counterparties, right? But more and more you're finding yourself using chat and other messaging apps, and that are more robust and more exciting. But I digress. The point I'm saying on the relationship on capex vis-a-vis our revenues, there was once upon a time in our heyday, a text was a 1 second payload offtake of our network, and for which we got at its best 1 peso. That's a 1 second, very few bandwidth take over a 2G network, and it was efficient, and it gave at that time, given that it was a breakthrough technology at the break of the new millennium, 2000 was it, or at the end of the 1990s. It was a breakthrough technology that actually disrupted what you call easy calls,
the beepers.
Beepers,
right,
absolutely, the beepers, and it served fully served the expectation of customer experience. Then followed by voice was always there, and we charged. That was a core business, voice. If you look at our name, Philippine Long Distance Telephone Company, voice was at the core of our business, and we charged handsomely for it, as we didn't have the scale of the market at that time. We were also a monopoly at that time, and therefore the prices couldn't come down, and therefore the margins. It can be debatable, but the margins had to be healthy, because we needed to roll out to more missionary, for lack of a better term, for more missionary subsidized areas of the country to put that service to within reach of a wider and more inclusive segment of the entire population. Right? But we earned good money from that. A voice call is certainly better than, or takes a lot more payload against a network than an SMS. But you could argue that a voice call is a standard offtake of the network. And then not very long ago, competition had set in, and disruptive competition set in, even within the industry. And therefore, we charged by per traffic basis, we had to do bundles. And we started with bundling of messaging, which we didn't get per text. It had to be a basket of text. And then shortly after that, it had to be only call. And that certainly brought margins down. Which is still fine, because we were working off traditional networks. That still actually allowed for acceptable customer experience, even on only voice, because you can only talk for so long, right? And the average call, if I remember right, was 2.5 minutes, and the off-take payload against the network was uniform. Can I fast forward to today?
Please.
Now we're looking at data. And we're looking at data across convergent platforms, fixed and wireless, and we want the experience to be uniform, regardless of platforms. Now, we're also going into bundled data and packaged data into packets, right? I would argue, however, Maria, that when you go into data, you get into different off-take payload. I'm going a bit technical. I'm not a technical person, but you certainly are aware that one of the biggest use of data are video, and it will be for the coming years, right? And in video, you can have standard definition video, 720. You can have 1080K. You have 2K, 4K. I've been hearing 8K. And recently in the Asian Carriers Conference, I was at Huawei, do a presentation on 3D video. That as you progress
Yes.
to clearer and higher definition experience over video, the demands and payload over the network is going to be exponentially way higher than both SMS and even voice. Now, having said that, the threat of competition, the threat of displacement and disruption that have caused us on voice and SMS through the messaging
Yes.
has not allowed us to recompense ourselves, to keep our top lines, much less our bottom lines, even to where we were just a few years ago. Now, add to that, the onus is on the carriers for their long-term survivability and sustainability to be able to continue coughing up higher and higher capex to deliver a
Connectivity.
customer experience that's acceptable by the market. And mind you, we're in emerging
Right.
emerging market demographics, disposable income demographics. But the reality is that given the internet, the customer expectations and the technologies that our marketplace are getting aware and accustomed to are first world technologies brought by the internet, but sadly with emerging market disposable incomes.
Yeah.
That in itself, as a country, add to that, as I mentioned to you in some of our discussion, we have other challenges to that as well. So
Yes.
there's a heavy capex demand to deliver data.
Mm.
We are at the midst of disruption for over-the-top players that are trying to eat into having their own customer relationships and forging closer relationships with our own customers, relegating us to be incidental players in the long-term play. And then you've got a challenge of customer experience over data that require us to invest more and more of our whatever earnings that we have and flow it back to capital expenditures for the network and the IT infrastructure back end. Now, put that aside, and then I will have to talk to you about how unique the Philippines is in respect to our role as the technology provider in this country. Apart from the fact that we're emerging market with
Yes.
emerging market type of disposable incomes, albeit the fact that it is with hope that we are really moving very fast to become a developed country
Right.
economics-wise, but we're not quite there yet. If you look at the content preference of Filipinos, we are a cosmopolitan lot by culture, and over 90% of the content that we consume are foreign content. That adds to the cost equation because we do have to buy IP transit
Right.
capacities from foreign carriers to be able to backhaul all this foreign content
Got it.
to cater to the local taste of our consumers for foreign content. I guess we owe that to our 300 years of content life with the Spaniards and, as I say, 50 years,
50 years of
of
Hollywood.
with the U.S. And then add to that, we are the second largest archipelago in the world. And that actually has a direct correlation to the capex on infrastructure I mentioned earlier.
Got it.
To roll out fiber, to backhaul both your fixed and wireless, robust wireless connectivity, you need fiber. Because only fiber will deliver the kind of bandwidth throughput that the market requires now. Add to that the spectrum that is, I don't want to discuss that because that's sub judice, that's subject of regulatory
That's right.
now.
That's right. Right.
There are spectrums that actually allow you to deliver better customer experience. But take that aside. But just looking at it from the network, we do have to have terrestrial layout and provisioning as well as undersea cables provisioning.
Yes.
And when you go undersea, Maria, in a country of over 7,000 islands, you do expect to have your capex go up exponentially higher because the provisioning for communications infrastructure is way higher when you connect islands as against a contiguous
Yes,
landmass,
yes.
right?
In other countries, the way they were able to do this was government got involved in it. I mean, is
I'm
that
glad you
something,
said the third point. No? The third point, at least so far, in other emerging markets where they look at communications, basically, and I'm not saying telecommunications, they look at technology.
Right.
By and large. Telecommunications is such a legacy term at this point. I think the more appropriate term would be technology. They look at, in other countries, emerging as they are, they look at technology no different from infrastructure
Right.
as roads and bridges and similar facilities, and therefore are allocated some government subsidy and support. And I'm not saying the situation will certainly be helped with the same approach.
Right.
And we are delighted by the fact that the new government had actually instituted a new department of ICT that actually takes a look at ICT to be a very, very critical component of any nation's economic well-being to the future.
It's really a race against time right now, right? Because technology can help a country leapfrog development. I mean, what do you see? Why is it so important to get this?
Well, as I say, bandwidth is the new gold, oil, right? If not gold,
Yeah.
the new oil. I don't think humanity can escape the digital revolution. Digital is about improving lives, and there is a certain element a basic element in all of us human beings to improve our lot, right? And technology is certainly it is of the time in our evolution where technology, so far as we know it, is one of the more efficient ways by which we could not only improve our lot, but actually improve it with inclusivity for many, right? And scale in many.
We have a new government taking office now. I mean, what would on your wish list, if you could wave this magic wand, what could we do? What could the government do that would help?
Well, as a Filipino, playing in a global arena, you might find this rhetoric and cliche, but I would like to see technology be more inclusive, within reach of a wider customer base, a
Yes.
market base. Beyond the commercial ends that we serve in our organization, just for instance, the event that we're going to attend tonight, we do have a particular focus on technology inclusivity, particularly in the enterprise market for micro, small, and medium enterprises. Not very long ago, if you're an SME and a big player comes to your town, you're basically wiped out.
Yeah.
Such is no longer. For the new enterprise, even how small you are, we are trying to get enabling technologies within your reach to achieve the following. Number one, to expand your market horizons.
Yes.
Just a few years ago, if you're SME, your market is limited to anywhere between 20 to 30 kilometers
Yes.
radius from your place of operation. E-commerce and technology would change all of that.
Mm.
Second, if you're a small player, you certainly don't have the financial wherewithal to be able to put in place IT systems and back ends to make and run your business more efficiently. The advent of the cloud, where you don't have to invest capex,
Yes.
but rather do an OPEX model and look into a trusted expert partner, hopefully that's PLDT, to be able to enable your business with all these tools that every large corporation has and have the means to do so, which just a few years ago was not available to you, is such an enabler and leveler of the playing field. And we want to see that. We want to see SMEs, particularly in emerging market, not large business, are actually the driving force towards any country's long-term economic development, and we'd like to empower that. Suffice to say, we do have a commercial end to all of this, maybe beyond my career lifetime. It's all about sustainability. We would like to see these companies become larger companies, become stronger companies, become globally competitive. We'd like to see the country further expand and build on the momentum that we are enjoying today, such that it actually ensures our very own, not only survival, but our own thriving future.
Yes, yes. You described the things that allowed Rappler to grow, by the way, the very same things.
But you've got to invest today, right?
Absolutely.
You've got to have a bet, and you've got to,
and you have to do
be
it soon.
clear on that vision.
Yeah, it has. The timing was right for us. It was in 2012, and we were able to use cloud, to use this kind of technology that we wouldn't have been able to have.
Which you tell me, Maria, 10 years ago you could probably not pull it off.
We wouldn't have grown, and we couldn't have scaled. I think that's
the whole idea.
In terms of where you see, you're talking about being. It seems to me that there's this problem that in order to be able to have more of the Philippine population at a certain quality of bandwidth, the amount that every person can pay should increase.
Yes, to be able to support the capex for the kind of customer experience that they desire.
So when you say ARPU, for most people, they don't know what ARPU is. It's the average revenue
per user.
Per user. So, what do other emerging economies actually bring in government help? Like Vietnam, for example, has one of the best.
I know that it's a bit higher than what we have, but I think the better benchmark is a global benchmark.
Right.
Because as I said earlier, when you asked me about the challenges with technology, the adoption of technology seems to be universal.
Right.
The cost points and the affordability points and the pay points for technology, there seems to be the difference. Right.
Right. Right.
And if you were to benchmark technology being consumed in developed worlds, you're seeing ARPU. I just checked it. In the U.S., the ARPU is anywhere from $40 to $50. Europe, a little shade lower that. Japan, $40. It's the same technology that every Filipino aspires for. Just go to the internet and you will be oriented on the kind of technologies available today, and which is actually a, how do I call it? The brunt end of such realization actually goes to our doorstep, right?
Yes, yes.
It's almost always seemingly that we are not doing enough, and we're not investing enough, and that the market is always wanting. It's all about economics. We can only afford
it's almost like subsidizing,
so much,
right? Yeah.
And our stock price reflects the very nature of our earning streams vis-a-vis the capex required. I mean, the market is perfect. At our highest, when SMS was 1 peso, our stock price was certainly north of 3,000, and obviously our stock price is well below 2,000. It's breached that.
So, this is now the top BPO. We have the most BPOs globally now, right,
yes,
in the Philippines. And those BPOs have 100 Mbps, I mean, and more. They have that. So we are capable, we have the technology, but those BPOs also pay a lot more.
Absolutely. I'm glad you helped me on this argument. We couldn't possibly be the #1 call center destination for the world, and second only to India for business process outsourcing, if we didn't have the right technology architecture. I did make mention to you that between us and the other players in the market, our competitor even, we are an over-designed technology provider country in terms of diversity and redundancy of international endpoints, even as well as fiber connectivity to specific endpoints in enterprises. The industry, the outsourcing industry, continues to grow at double-digit rate. We're glad to be part of the BPAP, and they have just drawn their next 5-year plan, and the aspiration is to eclipse even foreign direct remittances, or FW remittances of 30 billion, right? Which goes to show that the technology enablement that is required, critical factor, only second to the human resources,
Yes.
right? To be able to complete the cost arbitrage. Not only the cost arbitrage, but cost arbitrage and capability component necessary to having a robust industry such as our outsourcing industry.
Yes.
All the infrastructure is in place if you're willing to pay for it.
If you will. So it's a complex thing. People actually say, I want access, I want great internet speed without actually seeing through it. I guess in your last thoughts, I mean, what things would you like to see? What kind of future do you see ahead now, given that it is so important for us?
I'd like to touch off to that question on looking at the ecosystem, the technology ecosystem. It's a B2B to C world out there.
Right.
It's never been a good time to be a consumer. And the technology enablement to the future is going to be more B2B to favor the C. And as such, you will see a lot more leveraging and optimization of digital platforms, leveraging the acronym SMAX for enterprises. SMAX, social engagement, mobility, Internet of Things, how to interconnect devices and people together through fixed and wireless. You've got big data and analytics, the cloud, IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, as well as data centers, and then security to protect the most vital of the new currency, which is everybody's data. All of these things actually would serve to enable the enterprises, businesses, with the end in view that the businesses would be enabled to a very refined level that they can engage their own customers intimately
Directly.
and that they can do transactional influence directly to their end customers. Now that changes the ball game altogether because media, advertising, marketing, management, as you legacy know it, will certainly have to evolve.
Go directly. I have to throw one last question. Governments are also trying to grapple with this technology, and some of the tech futurists are saying that this technology can allow governments, like the Philippines, for example, to leapfrog development. What does that mean exactly?
Absolutely. I'd like to answer that question with the first statement. Technology is the antidote to corruption. And having said that, if you look at the less corrupt government or governance in the country environments, they are the ones that have used and optimized the pervasive use of technology. Having said that, it is very hopeful that we have a new government in place and that a number of factors. First, we have a new government, and I'm seeing younger leaders in place who know the power and value of technology by which to streamline and improve public services and also curb corruption. Second, aren't you delighted that we live at a time where, at the very least, apart from the aspiration for first world technology services, pretty much the basic technology infrastructure is available to all. What do I mean by that? Our population is 100 million.
Cell phones.
The mobility subscriber base
Right.
between us and our good competitor is 120 or so million.
Yeah.
So we've got more technology devices out there than people. Third of those number, we're seeing a huge, steep rise in adoption of smart devices.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about feature phones, smart devices. You could have a smart device for less than $50 or $2,500 these days, right? And the power of the compute power of such devices, I'm sure you've read it.
Yes.
It's equivalent to an IBM computer room, a whole room in the 1960s, right? So you open up a whole slew of opportunities and inclusivity for technology. And at the same time, you also open up a new set of expectations and demands from your government. And I'm glad that the new leadership and the new crop of leadership is adept and are actually taking heed of the natural evolution of consumer expectations and the dynamism of the times. It's inevitable. It will be demanded for. And
There's a great
they've
book.
got to deliver.
There's a great book called The Inevitable that is about inevitable technologies.
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable.
What, just to cap that answer, and in all of these things, not in government and in private sector, in the inevitability of such evolution, we would like to position ourselves to be a critical player as a technology provider for Filipinos.
Fantastic. Well, good luck in the days ahead, and thank you. Thank you so
We need
much.
that.
We've been speaking with Eric Alberto. He is the president and CEO of ePLDT, also the EVP of the PLDT and Smart. He's on Twitter, so go ahead and tweet him at Eric.
Era 420.
Era 420. Okay, I don't know if you wanted that on there, but he's on Twitter, so you'll
Google,
look for him.
Just Google Eric Alberto, and technology will find its way, your way to me.
Technology is changing our world. We see it every day. It's in your pockets. We'll be talking about this a lot more in the days to come. I'm Maria Ressa. Thanks for joining us.